Hey, fellow writers, this is Rich Blazevich. And in this video, I'm going to talk about copyrights for your book. And specifically, we're going to cover how can you copyright your book? Should you register your copyright? And I'll give you a few tips for protecting your content. Now, before I get started, I am going to give you a disclaimer. I am an author. I am not a lawyer. And authors shouldn't give advice on legal matters. Now, copyrights, that's a legal topic. So don't rely on anything I'm going to say in terms of being legal advice. If you want legal advice, hire a lawyer. If you want suggestions based on what I do for copyrights, then continue to watch this video and I'll let you know my perspective on copyrights. First, I'm going to define what a copyright is. A copyright is simply the legal right to publish content. And in terms of who has that legal right, it goes to the originator of the content and anyone else that originator authorizes. So if you write a book, you have the copyright. And if you want to also give the copyright to somebody else, you can give them that right to publish your book, because if you've written your book, that right is yours to give away as you see fit. Let's talk about how to copyright the content for your book. Technically, your content has a copyright as soon as you transfer it out of your brain. So whether you write it on a piece of paper or you type it into a computer or you dictate it into a device, as soon as it comes out of your brain into a document, you have the copyright. If you want added protection, you can include a copyright page. Most authors do at the beginning of their book. And you can also register your copyright at copyright.gov. As I said, as soon as you write your book, it automatically copyrights your content. What I recommend you do is save drafts of your book that are timestamped. So anytime you save a file on your computer, it should save the date and the time that you saved that file. And if anybody ever challenges your right to publish your own work, you can go back into those old files and demonstrate that you generated the content and you did multiple drafts to get to the finished product. You can also occasionally email the content to yourself. And I do this myself for two reasons. One is if I ever need to show that I was the person who wrote it and the date that I wrote it, I would have the email demonstrating that. It's also a really good way to back up your information. So if you're worried about losing your book content, if you go back into your email files, you can find earlier drafts of your document. Here are some suggestions on what to include on your copyright page. There are three things. First of all, put the little circle C symbol that stands for copyright. Include the year that you wrote that version of your book, and then also the name of the publisher. And the name can simply be your name. A lot of authors include themselves as the publisher, especially self-published authors. If you're going through a publishing company, you can include that publishing company's name on your copyright page. One tip for writing the copyright page for your book is just grab any book that you might have lying around and read the copyright page. It includes some of the language you might want to include in your book. And the real benefit of doing this is you're signaling to anybody who might want to copy content out of your book that before they can do that and publish that content, they need to get your permission. Now let's look at why you might want to register your content on copyright.gov. Really, the reason to do that is it provides extra legal protection if you ever have to defend your right to publish your content. And there are two things that could happen. One is somebody could say, hey, stop publishing your book because that content is theirs. If you've registered with copyright.gov, then you'll have an easier time in court showing that you have the rights to publish that. Also, you could go after other people who are publishing your content, and having a registered copyright helps you in those legal situations. Here are the 4 steps you'll need to go through to register on copyright.gov. First of all, you need to create an account. Then you need to register your work and then complete what's called a standard application and then pay a fee. Currently, the fee is $55. And let me take you to that site and we'll go into copyright.gov and I'll show you step by step how to register your copyright there. First of all, go to copyright.gov, and when you get there, go to registration and choose register your work. When you do that, it will take you to a page that if you scroll down, you'll see a button that says log in to the electronic copyright office registration system. And when you log into that system, if you aren't logged in yet, that'll take you to a page where you can log in. If you don't have an account yet, then click on this link here that says, if you're a new user, click here to register. That will take you to a page where you can enter in your information and set up an account. Once you set up an account and you log in, you will go to a page that looks like this. And this is where you're going to start entering the information about the copyright that you want to register. Start by going to standard application and start registration. And then here are the steps that you'll need to go through to complete your registration. The first is enter in the type of work. So for a book, it's going to be a literary work. You can scroll down, read the information here. By clicking this box, you confirm you've read the description above. Go to continue. And this will walk you through every step in the form. For the title, you'll enter in the title of your book. Enter in a new book, select title of work being registered, and then type in the title of your book. So if I was registering my first book, I would say That's a Bullseye. Then click on Save, and that shows me that I now have one book in this list that I'm registering. If I click on Continue, that takes me to the next page on the form, which is Publication Completion, and it says, has this work been published? If I haven't published it yet, but I'm about to, go ahead and say no. And then year of completion, you could enter in the year that you plan on finishing writing the book, which is probably the year you're in right now. And then if you've pre-registered it previously, you should have a pre-registration number. Chances are you haven't pre-registered it, you're just registering it for the first time now. So hit continue. It'll take you to the page for authors. Here's where you can enter in your information. So you want to enter in a new author, type in your name. If you're applying for the copyright on behalf of an organization, let's say you work for a publishing company, you put the organization name in here, chances are you're going to register it as an individual author, especially if you're a self-published author. So I'd recommend fill in the individual author section unless you have a reason to register it as an organization. Choose your citizenship. So I'm a United States citizen. And then I don't have to enter in domicile because I'm a citizen. If you're not a citizen, you can enter in this information here, then go back up, hit save. And since it's a book, I'm going to say the author created the text. It's not a computer program. I'm not registering photographs, artwork. This is a book. So enter text, hit save. Then it shows me I'm the author. I don't have an organization. I didn't put work for hire. I'm not anonymous. And I don't have a pseudonym, so I'm just registering it under my name. Now I'm going to go up here and hit continue. If you're not the author, but you have rights to the work that you're registering, the claimant section will allow you to claim the rights. That means the author has transferred the rights to you. Since I am the author, and chances are you are as well, you can leave the claimant section blank and click continue. Limitations on claims is, as it describes here, are you limited to the claim that you have? So if this is something that somebody else has published and they've given you temporary rights to, or they've given you rights to just certain sections of it, that's where you use the limitation of claim form to show that your claim is limited. Since you're the author, you can also leave this section blank and move on to the next section. For the rights and permissions section of this application, what they're asking for is who should be contacted if somebody wants rights or permissions to this work. So if you want someone to contact you, you'll put your information here. So that way, if somebody contacts the government and says, I want to contact the person who owns the copyright so I can get rights or permissions to use their work. Enter your information here and include the way you want people to contact you if they want rights to your content. You could include a phone number that you check. You can include an email address. You can have them mail it to your physical address. So you have options on how people will contact you if they want to get rights or permissions. So once you fill out this section, hit continue, and then it will take you to the correspondent. Now, correspondent is different. This isn't if some third party wants to contact you to get rights and permissions. This is if the government needs to contact you because something is going on with your copyright. So this is how you want to be contacted by the government on any issues related to your copyright. So this information is required. Once you fill in this section, you can hit continue again. And then the government will mail a certificate to you to certify that your copyright has been registered. You enter in the information here. It could be exactly the same information that you put on the other forms, but you have to enter it again. And that way they know where you want your certificate mailed. It does ask you to fill in the organization name. So since this is a required field, you can put in your own name as the organization. I'm going to enter in my name since I'm an individual author. It's got my address. Once I have everything filled out, I'm going to hit continue, and it will ask if I want any special handling. By that, it means, do I want expedited service? And I'm not going to expedite. I'm going to go ahead and just click on the continue. And then finally, under certification, it just wants me to certify that I am the individual I say I am. And that way they know that the right person is entering this form and claiming the rights to this material. So go ahead and hit continue. Once you've filled in the application, you can review the submission and go through and make sure you've got the right title for the book. You've indicated whether or not it's been published yet. You have the right author name. Go down to have you entered the right information in the rights and permissions, the correspondence, the mail, the certificate, special handling. Once you've reviewed all the information and everything looks good, you can go up to hit pay your submission fee, and then upload the file that you want to register for your copyright. It's a fairly simple process to register your copyright for your book. So you just need to decide, is it worth it for you to do it? Is it worth the $55 fee? And do you want the added protection in case anyone tries to take your book or anyone tries to prevent you from publishing your own book? Now that you've seen how to register the copyright for your book, I want to show you the options for when you might want to do that. And I've heard two different perspectives. It's really up to you which of these options you go after. The first one is after you're done with your self-edit, before you start distributing your book to other editors. So if you're using freelancers, if you're using friends, if you're using fellow authors, you might want to register your copyright. And that way, if anyone does take your content, you can go back and show documentation that you registered that content. The other option is you could wait until your document is completely finished and you're ready to publish it. And that way you're registering the final work and you have added protection for the finished product. Now, let me give you my personal perspective on registering a copyright. And this may not be your perspective. You may choose to go down a different path, but my perspective is I actually don't register the copyrights for my books. And the reason I don't do that is simply because I don't think people are going to try and steal my books and pirate them and mass produce them. The books that are most likely to get stolen are the ones that are already popular. Think about it. If you're somebody who wants to copy a book and try and make money off of it, are you going to pick a self-published author or are you going to pick a really popular author? Chances are you're going to have to go after a popular author to ever get your money back on all the steps you'd have to go through to get that book into production. So personally, I think the risk is low. If you want the extra protection, then it might be worth it for you to register your copyright. What I do to protect my content is I save drafts, and that way I can go back and show that I have written various versions. I also embed what I call verifiable personal details. So in my books, there are names of characters that are names of childhood friends of mine. So what I'll do is I'll take the first name of somebody who's in a school yearbook and the last name of somebody else who's in that yearbook, and I'll merge them together. And that way, if I ever need to show that it's my work, I can go into the yearbook and say, hey, the first name of the first person on the first page and the last name of the last person on the last page make up the name of one of the characters in the book. So if somebody else wrote the book, why would they use names from my yearbook? If there's a street address in one of my books, it might be the address where I grew up. If there's the name of a hospital, it might be the hospital that I was born in. So if anyone publishes my book under their name, I can go into their book and say, these are details from my personal life. Therefore, I can show that it's my book, not their book, because why would they have my personal details in the book that they published? I don't know legally if that helps, but I like to believe that if I ever had to take it in court, those personal details in the book that they published would help my argument that they're publishing my work. Also, like I said, I don't really worry about it because if someone steals my ideas, then they're going to have a hard time making money on it because they probably won't go through all the work that I'm going through to make sure it gets in distribution, make sure that it gets good marketing, make sure that I'm communicating that the book is something that people will want to read. So your action steps for this video are add a copyright page to your book. There's no harm in having the copyright page. That lets people know that if they are going to take your content, they need to get your permission ahead of time to do it legally. You can also embed those personal details in your book. It's kind of fun if you're looking for an idea for an address or if you're looking for a name of a character to pick names out of your past. I actually don't use the first and last name of somebody I actually know. I try and use the first name of one person and the last name of the other person. And that way people don't think that I am trying to defame their character. I'm simply coming up with ideas on how to generate names. Also, decide whether or not you want to register your copyright. That's a personal decision. It's completely up to you. And if you decide you're going to, then just pop on to copyright.gov, fill out the registration, and pay the fee. That's my perspective on copyrights for a book. Hopefully that helps you. I do have free content on my website, so if you want more information about self-publishing, just click on the link in the description below and you'll be able to download a free copy of my self-publishing checklist. It includes information about the self-publishing process, as well as what steps you need to take to write, refine, and self-publish your own book. That's it for this video. Please hit the subscribe button to see more videos from me, and best wishes with your book.